Hi, welcome back. I'm Lisa. So good to have you here with me today. I've been feeling very compelled to share more of my Pasadena grandparents with you since the last video that I posted. It did very well, and they were truly these remarkable people, and I was close to them well into my 40s, which is remarkable. They lived to be 95. My brothers and I, we spent our Julys with our grandparents. They had a place up in the Pacific Northwest on this beautiful lake right up on the border of Canada. And it's no surprise then that one of my brothers purchased land there a couple of years ago to build a house about a mile from where we spent our summers. And I just started talking about our experiences with friends and family in the last few years because it was just such a profound and epic part of my childhood, but also my brothers as well. And they were vibrant. They lived fully for 95 years. Maybe the last few months of their lives weren't the best, but up to that point, it was amazing. And they were kind of minimalists, and so much of what I learned from them is such a part of how I function, and I started to realize that so much of it came from them. Before we dig in, I know that you're probably thinking about amazing people who influenced you. We have a vibrant community here. Please post your comments below. I would love to hear it, as well as read each other's comments. And I think we'll be greatly blessed through this time together. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm still half asleep. In this first minute, I want, at the very least, to be aware of the present moment and be grateful for a brand new day. I invite you into my day from beginning to end as I go through some simple routines and patterns of living I learned from watching my grandparents. They taught through their actions and not through words. This morning, I'm reminded that I can take small steps today and try, that I've had some truly amazing days and can do it again. I can build muscles today, physical, emotional, action, and resiliency muscles, and ask God to help me. The reality is that this moment is now. It's the only place that any of us ever exists. But so often the present eludes me because I can so easily live in my thoughts, believing that what I'm thinking is reality. One thing I can be sure of today is that I am worthy of love, and that all life has to offer is for me. And I can be settled in that truth. And I'm going to decide to not go into catastrophic thinking, because the future of everything is not under my watch. I'm going to let that go. A quiet mind is the goal. I have no doubt my grandparents lived in the present, especially my grandfather. He had a quiet mind. It doesn't mean being unaware or in the dark. It means my soul can be calm and at peace today, and I can be happy today. And this is what I seek. A watched pot never boils. I love to turn on the coffee, in this case, my espresso machine, and play a game to see if I can empty the dishwasher, put in a load of laundry, and empty the trash before my machine is ready. Having a routine allows my first 20 minutes to be productive, and it can overshadow very potential grumbling. It gets the blood moving and sets my day up for success. My grandparents simplified their lives by eliminating pretty much everything useless that didn't have a positive net result. Their daily habits set them up for as much ease and enjoyment as possible. Creating simplicity by having a system for doing laundry, cleaning, and meal readiness helps. Having a clothes hamper in every bedroom and one in the laundry room, along with baskets or bins for bath towels and rags, streamlines the washing. My kitchen and cleaning rags go in the drawer under the washing machine, and I didn't think that was something you'd want to see, but that is a load I do about every other day. Having all white towels and all white rags makes life a lot easier. They don't have to be separated, and they get oh so clean with bleach. Trash cans in every room for easy disposal. And then, of course, drawers, cabinets, closets, bins, baskets, strategically placed all throughout the house so that there is a place for everything. Thank God for caffeine. I'm ready to get the day going. Checked the weather, dressed accordingly with my focus on as much comfort and warmth today. It's a cool day as possible.
My grandparents valued above all the people in their lives and, of course, family. But they cultivated amazing friendships, lifelong friendships. And one of the things that was wonderful to see that they did up at the lake is, from a communal point of view, the men built these amazing docks and these kind of backyards on this lagoon where they kept their boats. And they did it year after year after year. And surprisingly, my brother said they're still intact. It almost brought him to tears because they were so beautifully built. They had a smokehouse where they would smoke their fish. They built a smokehouse. They would have cookouts together. They functioned as a community. And what was neat is that it was kind of a mutually beneficial use of their time and effort. And it just developed their friendships in a deeper way. Living with my grandparents in the summer and watching how they functioned taught me so much about how to order the day. They did so many things right. I never heard them judge anybody. They didn't waste their time talking or gossiping about other people. They were very full of love. They were accepting. The other thing that's amazing is that they accepted that life had struggles. They weren't shocked when there were difficulties or things that we would call bad happened. They accepted differences in all the people in their lives. They were just so open to that. The other thing is they had a great sense of humor. They didn't take themselves that seriously. They just brought joy. My grandfather always had a cute joke to tell. For 95 years of their lives, they didn't worry. They weren't complaining and all caught up in worry. My grandfather had a great sense of world history, and he just thought everything was always kind of repeating itself. I was worried because when I was a teenager, I was worried about nuclear war. He helped me to understand to just trust God, give all that to him. Those were things that were just probably too big for my little mind to comprehend, and just not worth the time. I remember not that long ago, I was driving with my grandfather. He was 90. We were going to lunch, and I remember his big arthritic hands on the steering wheel. And he was talking about how he didn't understand why people think of themselves as an age, that he had never thought about his age a day in his life. And he was serious. And I circled back to thinking about what he said as living, what would it mean to live an ageless life where we don't give any meaning to a number. That was just a beautiful gift that I was given by my grandfather at a special time that we spent with each other. I also just think of his hands. He spent 95 years using those hands to serve and to care, to fix things. He was always doing for others. And both of my grandparents, they used their life. They used it up, gave pretty much everything that they had. And that's just an amazing gift from them. My grandparents were married for 71 years and they lived in their home for about 65 years, which is just crazy, especially in this day and age. It was a steadfast, steady pillar for us because my family, my parents, my dad was an NFL football coach. He was a collegiate football coach, and we moved. And so it was so wonderful to always just run into our grandparents' homes and see all the things that were so familiar. We had the game cabinet. It meant the world to me. And I think that really has been a key driver for me in creating the environment that I have for my daughters and for our family. Home has that special meaning for me, I think, because we did move around so much. Part of the stability of my grandparents was what my grandmother called having a constitution. And so much of that has to do with like mealtime. Houses that were built back in the day, as you remember, maybe the home you grew up in, the kitchen was separate. It wasn't open. This open concept is kind of a new thing in the last 20 years. The beauty of homes like that is that the kitchen would be open for mealtime and then it would be closed. There weren't always these cues to be eating all the time every time you walk past the kitchen. They were just minimalist when it had to do with what was on their plate. It was always 3 meals a day, and they just didn't follow any real trend. But they lived to be healthy for 95 years. And I would tell you that they believed in frozen food like Marie Callender's lasagnas and things that were easy to prepare. And so it wasn't always just like this fresh, natural produce, but they always did have a salad. And they had some fruit trees in their yard. But I think the key that I learned from them was that they just didn't overdo anything. After I finished college, I lived with my grandparents for a few months before I got an apartment. And it was so neat because at that time, they kind of redid their home. They reupholstered furniture and had fresh paint on the walls and some new wallpaper. But they always kept things fresh through the years, which has been a huge influence on me. They also used the best of what they had. There was a story of my grandfather, and I can't remember which earthquake it was, but maybe in the 50s or 60s, Pasadena, of course, earthquake country. He held the big china cabinet up when it was about to fall over during an earthquake, which was a very brave thing to do. Most earthquakes, I run out of the house. That's just life in California.
Daily fresh air. It was my grandmother who taught me to garden and care for roses and camellias, as well as care for houseplants, and my parents did too. One of the best mood elevating things we can do every day is interact with nature in some way, and I'm curious what your favorite way is to interact with nature. There are so many ways, and I'd love to hear what you do. It helps me get to know you more. Keeping things tidy, putting things away right when we're finished means it's not being put off for some later time, because the truth is it's not going to be any easier later. It actually gets harder. And while I have a stack of books here, I will say that my grandparents read every day to keep their minds active and alive. They stayed curious, and reading is so good for our brains. But back to staying tidy. Designating a place for every little thing we own avoids creating mounds of stuff that only create chaos and stress, especially when we're looking for something. It seems the things we put off only grow larger with time. I know it does for me. When I procrastinate, whatever it is, it seems to grow and get bigger and bigger like a snowball. But it feels really good to create some semblance of order in our environment, whatever the size, whatever our space, and it has everything to do with how we manage our stuff. I might make a future video on this. Let me know if you'd like to see it. It's one thing I know I'm good at. Strategically placed chairs throughout the house makes it so I can set things down for the next time I'm heading in that direction, and it saves a lot of back and forth, saving lots of steps. As the day winds down, taking a few minutes to clean up, tidy, and straighten the house is a gift I give myself for the morning. I take a few moments to reflect and wonder when it was they became settled in their faith, the beliefs that they had that drove all of their actions, their Christian faith. And they knew that God was always with them, undoubtedly. The quiet confidence they lived with is enviable. My grandmother would say things to me like, I just ask God to help me, and He does. Resiliency. And my grandfather, he died with a joyful spirit and sparkling eyes. The most important habit for health, as far as my grandmother was concerned, was oral care. Brushing, flossing, and using an oral rinse feels so good at the end of the day, and it helps me not to munch mindlessly after dinner. So the earlier I can get to this, the better. I think probably their best quality was that they were never at the effect of anything, not the weather or other people or circumstances. If they couldn't control it, they let it go and didn't focus on it. They focused on what they could do and what they could control without being fixated on themselves. Now that's art. Having a heart full of gratitude and a mind full of images of something beautiful and enchanting that lies just ahead. Now that's something to strive for. We don't choose our parents or our grandparents, and so I can take no credit. I just feel compelled to pay my good fortune forward and share these two kind-hearted people with you. I personally have much to learn, and I was just reading that the strongest trees mature slowly, enduring the most stressors. And so I press onward toward the castle of enchantment that lives in my soul, that is before me still. Thank you, Grandma and Grandpa. I love you and carry you in my heart always.
It took me a long time to realize that so much of my daily routine, from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, was a gift given to me from my grandparents. There's just so much that they taught me just by watching them live their life. I hope in some way these little tips have blessed you, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.